Hello everyone and welcome back. This is part 2 of a 3-part episode on online arbitrage. I'm your host, Joseph Cox, and I'm speaking with Thomas Parkinson, who's an online arbitrage expert, and we're talking about everything to do with online arbitrage. If you've missed part 1, click the link above. If not, relax and enjoy the show. Okay, so we've spoken about the sort of products that people can buy, and you've kind of said anything, and you've given those kind of big categories. What sort of profit margin should people be looking at? Because should they be buying something for £2.50 and selling it for £3, or should they be looking for bigger opportunities, I suppose? And I guess the obvious answer is you look for the biggest opportunity, but what do you think is a good opportunity?
So, interesting enough, I can probably give you some good numbers. Okay, first things first. If you sign up to an Amazon seller account, you can get an app on your phone called the Amazon Seller app, and it has the ability to scan. Now, quite simply, it's not perfect. It doesn't take into account VAT. Again, talk to Joe about that. That's your expertise. But the idea is to say that you can go into Tesco and you can literally type in the product or scan the barcode. So you can scan the barcode, and what you can do is just put in the buy price, and it will tell you what the profit is. So really simple, helps you out, makes that a rough guide of where the profit is going to be. Now, coming back to your point about how much should you achieve, what should you aim for? The question you've got to ask yourself is, where do you want to be with this business? Now, if you are going to be a one-man band, if it's just going to be you, then yes, definitely you want to go as high as possible ROI. But if you are looking to scale this higher staff, you might actually think more about doing volume and a lower ROI, but more volume. Generally speaking, whenever you're talking about a product, there's 3 things we consider: profit, ROI, and sales. So you can have all the profit and ROI in the world. If it's never sold, it doesn't mean anything. So it's the velocity of sales. Now, if I give you some interesting numbers, 2 sellers who I've interviewed who are very open about their position. One of them is a one-man band. He works 2 days a month. He will buy things, online arbitrage and retail, and pretty much sell them for about 80 to 100% ROI. So that means, and that's profit, by the way. So that means it might be buying for 10, selling for 30 and making £10 profit. Now, he does £83,000 a year, and his profit for the last 12 months has been about £18,000. And I did a YouTube video, and you can see that on Fast Track FBA. And that's just him. That's what he is doing. So, and then another guy who we know who does it remotely, he works probably a couple of hours a week. He does £210,000 revenue, and he probably makes about £23,000 profit, but he's probably doing about 15, 20 hours a week, and he does a lot of other stuff as well. But he does that all online. So the one kind of thing which I think you can read between the lines here is that if you go and do RA, the profitability is much higher. But if you do OA, it's not as high, but you can do it in another country. And that kind of gives you an idea what they aim for.
So 2 questions there.
Go for it.
You might cover them on your video that you spoke about, but what's the reason that he stays below, or he stays at that kind of 85 or 83,000 amount? Is he doing it deliberately, or is it just that he doesn't want to have to work very hard?
Cool. So in answer to that question, your answer is because, if, as I mentioned earlier, and obviously Joe knows, 85,000 is the VAT threshold, and interesting enough, when you go over the VAT threshold, you have to pay VAT, value-added tax, and yes, you can claim it back, but generally speaking, you're going to be slightly worse off. But also as well, your compliance increases, the amount of paperwork you've got to do, so it just means a bit more work. So he purposely stayed below it and just tried to maximise his profit, and has done quite nicely behind it.
And does he do anything else? Has he got a second job, or does he then just say, well, I'm going to work for 2 days?
That's it.
2 days a month?
Yeah.
Live on 15 grand?
It's about 18, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video that I've done of it.
Yeah.
We worked it out, he's probably doing something like £71 an hour effective wage.
Wow, okay.
For the amount of work that he's doing.
Wow.
And that's the interesting point, is that so many people don't, they talk about total money, but it's actually how much money you're earning per hour worked.
Yeah.
What value you're getting back for the amount of work you're doing.
Well, we'll link to the video in case anybody's interested in it.
Yeah.
And then the other question to come on from what you were saying is, what are the other benefits of running an OA business?
So interesting enough, the other guy that I spoke about, and even myself, is the fact that because it's online, you can be anywhere. So the person I spoke about previously, I think he's out in Poland. Me, I've just been out in Vietnam for the last 2 years. Prior to that, I was in Thailand. And I still remember calling you like, "Hey Joe, I'm in Thailand." You're like, "Oh, cool. I like that."
I was incredibly jealous that time. It was raining.
But yeah, quite simply is the fact that you can do it online, you can do it from anywhere, and I really like that. And also the fact that because you can do it online, it's the fact that it doesn't mean it needs to be you doing it. You know, you can hire staff. It's really hard to hire staff to go into Asda and scan a product, but you can hire staff to go into asda.com, find a product, and then buy that on your behalf, and then ship it into Amazon and do all the stuff. And that's what I do. I have staff in the Philippines who physically find, purchase with my credit cards, and then manage that whole logistics process from the warehouse, which is in Cambridge, right through to Amazon, and then all the customer service. So, and it's about what life do you want? And for me, I wanted traveling, I wanted freedom, and also as well, I wanted to start building a business with staff that I wouldn't have to do the work every single day.
So you say that you can hire staff, VAs, to start scanning Asda.
Yeah.
Is there a limit to how big an OA business can get? Because if you're hiring people, and I imagine you're convincing other people watching this, to then start doing the same thing, there's going to be hundreds of, possibly thousands of people looking at Asda and searching for products. Surely that can't keep working. I mean, where do you see it going?
So I understand, so what you're doing is you're taking it to the nth degree, which I really understand. And I'm just going to put it out there to say that, go on.
Sorry to cut you off, but I imagine that's what people who
are
completely new to this will be thinking, because it's a hard concept to grasp if
you're
not already doing it.
Well, let me put it this way. Yes, there are a certain number of people buying, like let's say for example right now, in the top of my head, I reckon there's probably at least 5,000 people scanning Asda in the UK. In the current ecosystem, it's growing, and they're still making money by doing that. There's a lot of like Tesco Direct, when that used to exist 2 years ago, that was massive. Everyone used to buy from them. Interesting enough, it's about what's your value proposition and how do you add more value. Now, if you want to know from us, and I talk about it in my YouTube videos, is about we talk to Asda, but not only that, we'll talk to other suppliers, but then also we'll contact suppliers and ask for bulk discounts. We'll ask for purchasing agreements with them. We can get better rates. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to understand what your niche is and what's working. And if I put it in perspective, the UK market I know reasonably well, and I'd probably say I'm a reasonably big seller. My aim for next year is 1 million. That's where I want to get to. But I've interviewed VAs in America who have been part of online arbitrage businesses where they've had more than 30 VAs sourcing, like 30 VAs, and like that's massive.
Yeah.
If I talk it in perspective, each VA will probably be finding you about £1,000, maybe £1,500 worth of products every week. So this person's spending 30, maybe 40, 45, $50,000 a week on stock. That's quite a big business.
Yeah. So 2 things there.
Go for it.
You've got one, someone whose full-time job is to sit there and go through Asta's listings looking for products to sell. Do they enjoy it?
Yeah, I think, interesting enough, when I do the recruitment for it, and again, you can watch YouTube videos of me actually going through the interview process, I really try and undersell it. I'm like, this is the most boring job you've ever done in the world. It's copy and paste. And actually, we've had sources now for 3 years in my business doing it, and they kind of think about it as like it's a game. It's about shopping, trying to find opportunities, and we're always looking like, are there new ways that we can do it, new little methodologies that we can use, and it does make a difference. Some people really like this, and I admit some people hate it. You know what? I hate it. I've done it so long, and I'm like, no, I'm outsourcing. I'm getting someone else to do this for me. But yeah, they do a really good job of it, and they've been doing it for years.
Yeah. And then the second question was, more of a shock. You actually go to Asta directly and ask them, hey, can we buy 100 widgets? And I had to be careful there because I know some of the products that you sell, and I didn't want to accidentally reveal them. So you sell 100 widgets. Can I have a discount? Is that how it works, or do you?
Yeah, why not?
Where do you start? Just phone them?
Email them, phone them. And it's not as simple as that. There are certain nuances to it. Like, I'm quite lucky in the fact that I've worked in businesses whereby we've done that kind of procurement before, and it's about how you approach the whole situation. You know, obviously Asda are, big suppliers are getting asked for discounts all the time, but if you position yourself in a position whereby you are seen to be a business whereby they want to do business with you, then they might consider it, they might say that it's not viable for that product, but what you're looking for is to say, actually, and we know this, it's the fact that the price you see isn't always the price you pay. And just by what you see doesn't, if you choose to pay that price, that's fine. But if you are buying £5,000, £10,000 worth of one item, that's quite a big purchase. And you know what? A lot of people will be quite interested to have that money. And by asking for a small discount or what you can get for free, it's a no-lose situation. So why not ask the question? And you know what? And you are on Amazon, you are in competition with other sellers. I won't deny that. If we're selling Lego, for example, there'll be other people on the listing selling Lego. But if you can negotiate a better rate, that's going to have a real impact.
And on that, what you mentioned Lego. Is that something you sell? What sort of products do you sell? If you don't mind saying.
No, it's fine. So I won't. Two things. I won't tell you exactly what we sell. Number one, because I don't really know. And then number two is the fact that if I did know, it wouldn't be very advisable for me to tell you exactly what I'm selling, because you can just type it into Google, go find it, buy it and sell it, obviously compete against me. So, but generally speaking, what I said before, toys and games, grocery and beauty. We don't do so much on toys and games, but it's mainly around those two products. And you might ask why. Grocery, quite simple, it's high volume. The profit probably isn't so great, but it's just high volume, and you don't get returns. We're not really worried about returns. We don't get many, but just food, people buy like so much of it, and it's crazy. And then beauty, because it's high value and it's small and light. And again, when we talked about that buy for £10, sell for 20, and you've got the fees, those fees are a lot smaller because they're small shipping fees. So that's why we do beauty.
Interesting. And talking about the shipping fees, do you find that most people use Amazon, they use FBA, or do they fulfill the products themselves?
Great question. Again, it comes back to your business model. For me, it's always FBA. Most people will use FBA. Why? Because the more you sell, Amazon deals with the logistics to the customer. The more you sell, Amazon just deal with it. You don't have to scale that infrastructure, you don't have to scale that problem. And if you're physically taking your Lego item from your house to the post office, that's time. That's time you could be spending on something else, and Amazon will just do it for you. And add to the fact that when you're physically buying something and shipping it to Amazon for them to hold it, UPS come to your house and pick it up from your house. And they do that at a rate that you just cannot believe. And also on top of that, Amazon's fulfillment fees are cheaper than what I can even buy it to ship it with the post office.
Wow.
So it's just so cheap, it's not even worth it. And they pick, pack, ship and prep it, and then obviously store it. So it's not even worth me doing it.
And you say they come to your house.
Yeah.
Now, Tom's fortunate enough, as he keeps saying, he's in Vietnam. Do you get the goods shipped to Vietnam and then Amazon collect it from there?
My God, that would be horrendous, absolutely horrendous. No, I ship them from, Tesco or whoever we're buying from, and then they all go to a warehouse in Cambridge, and then the warehouse, and they're called prep centres. They will basically get the goods in, they'll inspect them, they'll make sure they're as expected, they'll check them in on a system, and then they'll consolidate them up. So you might have like one from Tesco, one from Asta, consolidate them and then ship them into Amazon on our behalf, and they'll just manage the logistics process.
Okay, so the goods go from Tesco or Asta to this prep centre,
Yep.
and then to Amazon.
Yeah.
Do you use multiple prep centres? Do they have multiple locations?
You can. I use one. We're doing okay volumes. We're not huge, but you've got to think like, what's the benefit? So for me, it's just one prep centre. I can build that relationship. Same as I have the relationship with you. You're part of my team. Accountants, prep centres, they're about my business. And it's like, is there a benefit to having multiple prep centres? Sometimes yes, but most of the time you're just going to have one. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And that's the end of part 2 on our 3-part series on online arbitrage. If you like what you've seen so far, please click the like button below. If you've got any questions about any of the topics that Tom and I have spoken about, please leave them below and we'll make sure that we respond. Stay tuned for part 3.